Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing very well today and you're ready to start your day with me, Maha Mukhdoom, and unfortunately no Shahzad Khan. But we do have a very interesting, relevant topic to discuss today. But before we get started, I hope you guys had a good day. I hope you guys have been enjoying the weather. We are hopefully in the last few weeks of summer, and I personally am over this humidity and I cannot wait till the winter starts. But now let's take a look at our top stories for the hour, and then we'll do our public service message and we'll start the show. Okay, Pakistan Army organized a colourful ceremony to pay glowing tribute to the martyrs of the 1965 war. Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi has emphasized the need for adopting a proactive approach towards projecting positive image of the country. Pakistan's envoys conference in Islamabad discussed the foreign policy recommendations on its second day. Boatloads of Rohingya Muslim families continue to arrive in Bangladesh after fleeing violence in northern Myanmar. United Nations has appealed to Myanmar government to end violence against the Rohingya Muslims. Terrible situation there. And finally, American Venus Williams and Sloane Stephens qualify for the women's semi-finals of the US tennis tournament. Congratulations to them. Oh, and you saw me getting rid of my papers. Never mind, but that's the beauty of live television. So that was the news, and now let's take a look at our public service message. Well, I think I have two public service messages now. So one is don't let them throw things around because it makes things messy. And secondly, it is in line with the show. So as we know, social media is part of our day-to-day lives. It become integral to everything. And it's something that, in my opinion, is not going away. It's not going to go anywhere. We have the internet, and it's about evolving. So our public service message today is that when you do go onto Facebook, when you do go into any type of social media, act responsibly. Don't say things that you would not say in person to someone else. Don't be a keyboard or screen warrior, as they're called. Try to behave in the same manner that you would in a social context. Respect people's opinions, their spaces. So that is our message today. We need to start building a little bit more respect on these public, social, virtual spheres. So that is the public service message from This Morning. And now, in line with our topic, social media, as I've just mentioned, is integral to our day-to-day life. It's in everything. People now use these social media platforms to communicate for work, be it social, political, anything. And the thing is, it has other effects within the society on a political level and on a national level. And one thing is that hot debate, is the national security aspect. Do we limit people's usage? Do we censor things? Do we put rules and boundaries in place so that people's usage of social media is kind of shaped and directed and navigated? And we've been joined by some wonderful guests in the studio who are going to discuss all these points. And it's really vital to have this conversation because the whole world is having this conversation. Do we give information to people? Should people have access to our information? Because Facebook has our whole life on it. Twitter has, all our opinions on it. You can get fired for certain things. You can be imprisoned in certain places for saying the wrong things or posting the wrong things. So it's about protecting yourself as well. People have unfortunately even lost their lives as a result. So to discuss this really important topic, we have been, after a very long time, we've been joined by Mr. Hisham Sarwar. He is our social media expert today. Assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Alaikum.
Thank you so much for joining us again. It's been a long time.
It's been very long, but finally back.
Yes, welcome back. Besides Mr. Hisham Sarwar, we've been joined by Sarish Asad Rafi. She is the head of marketing at Vision Micronux. Assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you. And besides Sarish, we've been joined by Ibrahim Ahmed. He is the chief executive at Goal Trainings. Assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure is all mine.
Okay, so you guys have been here on the show before, so you know it's a conversation, it's relaxed, we're trying to wake people up and get them interested. But I'm going to start with you, Hisham, because you've been working within the virtual world for a very long time. So in your opinion, does it and how does social media act as a potential threat to national security?
Okay.
Without delving too much into the political side.
I'm not going to do that. You know.
You know, yeah, we know you. Yeah.
I mean, I won't take that, political sideness.
Yeah.
But to begin with, Maha, let's just take the importance of social media probably in the last 10 years.
Okay.
Social media has, correct me if I'm wrong, has taken over the, traditional media with regards to the reach out to the public, because everyone is connected with their cell phones and everyone is connected with Facebook, Twitter, so on and so forth, all the social media channels out there. So the fundamental importance of social media cannot be undermined, especially when you're talking about 2017, 2018. Now, when you talk about, the threat to the national security, yes, the rules have to be there, but then the rules are there. Pakistan introduced, the cyber law, speaking specifically about Pakistan. Last year, the cyber laws were introduced, implemented in the country. So more on a need versus demand basis, if you say something which is bad or negative or, it's a threat to the national security, that can be pulled against you, in a court of law.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful what you say. Now, without taking the political side, the importance of social media for driving the political scenarios cannot be undermined, not just in Pakistan, but we have seen it in the rest of the world. I mean, the biggest example is perhaps the US politics, the elections.
Absolutely.
And they're still fighting about this. I'm not going to go into details what has happened there, but Russians, no Russians, there's still the big debate about all this. Then the importance of social media, another country we saw the importance was Turkey, where, the political coup and everything, people, gave their word out and they spoke about the issue. When it comes to the Pakistan, unfortunately, without taking the political sides, the politics on the social media is headed by the two-party cell, that's what they're doing. And they're the two mainstream parties which are, driving the force here. So there comes the need of the guidelines, perhaps, the thumb rules that this needs to be, floated or, set as a trend on the social media. This needs to be stopped. We have seen that on social media, the truth is out there. Which perhaps the mainstream media, one way or another, would not let it go out. So when it comes to the social media, those are hidden truths which are behind the walls. They just come in front and everyone gets to know about it.
Okay, so we're going to also delve into the actual point of, the validity of the information and how to verify it, etc. But let me move on to Ibrahim. In your opinion, how does it pose a threat to? Because this is the debate, isn't it? Does social media, do these platforms, are they a national threat, and do we need to do something about it?
Yeah, definitely we need to do a lot of things about it. I personally believe we are still a very immature social media nation.
Okay.
We don't have a very mature or very literate social media users.
Right.
For most of the people, social media means just checking, posting a picture and just putting a random video of some place or something. So in the social media, two things are very important. One of them is content.
Yeah.
You know, and hence your question, the validity of the content. What if I hate someone or certain, let's just say a certain group of segment, and I put something against them, and if I am an influential on social media, people without validating it, without realizing the source of it, they would just post it because it was posted by Ibrahim, so somehow or the other it would be true, right? So what happens is we don't verify the with sources, and so because of that, a lot of misinformation is being propagated, and we see a lot of old news being re-engineered just to tap the new market and new segments, and these blind followers sometimes without checking the sources, they just propagate the news anyways.
Well, yeah, and this is what we saw. We saw, people unfortunately also losing their lives as a result of false information being put on social media.
Absolutely. So then the point is, who would ask me, because you see, with great position comes a great responsibility.
Yeah.
So if I have, let's just say, 5,000 friend list in my Facebook, and I have a page or I have a good following, then I have to make sure that whatever I am posting is not posing any threat to any individual or a community or someone.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, so now that's great. So let's move on to the next aspect of this. So then, Sarish, how do you think that without violating people's constitutional rights, without their, freedom of speech, violating their universal rights, how do we keep using social media but curtailing the issue, as Ibrahim and Hisham have just pointed out?
Well, Maha, let me tell you, this is in the current situation, it's very difficult and it's very challenging to protect your privacy and to protect your security in this digital world. How is that possible? Because the social media is so convenient to use. It's so affordable for everyone. It's in the reach of every other user that we see. Every other person is using social media. So if someone is misusing your profile picture, or if someone is using your information, what you can do, all you can do is you can report to the authorities that are like Facebook authorities or Twitter authorities. What they'll do, they'll block that account. But the very next day, you'll see a new account popping up in your name and in your picture. So it's very difficult in these days to, manage your privacy and to manage your, what you can do, you can just post disclaimer messages that this is the only account that I'm using, and there is no other account in my name.
We'll talk about the ways to protect oneself in a moment. But okay, so now I think we're all on the same level, that we don't believe in censorship. We believe in people should have their rights, but also with, like as Ibrahim said, using with responsibly. Yes.
Exactly. So we need to have a good gatekeeper. The discussion that we were having before the start of the show, I am against censorship, but then again I am pro-filtering.
Absolutely, I believe in that too. But now, Hisham, because you mentioned it before we started the show, that you don't take that stance. So because social media is so imperative, and you're absolutely right. So now, knowing the fact that there is misinformation out there, knowing the fact that people are playing and editing, and you have Photoshop, you have all these different tools that you can manipulate a situation for your own personal gain. Now, regarding that, because as Ibrahim mentioned, there's great responsibility here. So how do we ensure, without going down that path, we make the social media a safer place so that nationally it's safer to use? Okay,
there are two aspects to it.
Okay, tell us.
The A being when you use the social media, it's your responsibility as someone who is surrounded by so many friends and followers, that whatever you put out there, it's credible.
Okay.
You do not cross the line, so to speak. And the second thing is, before I go at length about explaining the monitoring stuff of all this, I am, absolutely against the censorship, but that doesn't mean that monitoring, should not be in place.
Right.
Definitely, even when you talk about the schools, when you talk about the universities, with a group of students in a classroom, there has to be someone who will monitor, right?
Absolutely.
And same goes for the social media, the influx of people coming from different walks of life, from different cities. There has to be some guidelines to define what is right and what is wrong. Now, factor in the illiteracy rate.
Exactly.
Illiteracy rate, matched with the internet access everyone has in Pakistan, this is a perfect miscombo.
Okay.
So you talk about a taxi driver using the social media, you talk about your servants at home using the social media, and this is happening in 2017. So yeah, I agree with the monitoring stuff, but then the problem is, well, the guy who's going to do that.
Exactly.
Now, you've given the access of the tool to everyone. And now, for you to figure out how you're going to monitor that, there's only way you can do that.
Okay.
The only way you can do that is, by using the internet service, which is the PTA or the regulatory authority, which can ensure that certain stuff which is inappropriate does not go out there.
Okay.
Now that's the only way to look into it.
Right.
But the problem here is Facebook has got its own identity, and it won't let the external monitoring authorities regulate its own system. So we saw the problem of the inappropriate content, and then
Exactly.
there was the video stuff which was trending.
Okay.
Facebook outrightly said that,
Okay.
that's not something we can look into.
Okay, so exactly. So now that's the thing. So now where do we start? Because who defines what is appropriate and what is inappropriate, Ibrahim?
Okay, so talking about appropriate and inappropriate, I think we need to understand why we are using social media, and that is something we need to educate the masses about. And only then it would tell us what kind of a post and what kind of social media interaction we would have with different people.
Okay, now let me just pause you there and let me just interject, and then you can continue. It's the fact that, okay, this is not just a problem within Pakistan.
Yeah.
This is a universal problem.
Absolutely.
Now, it's not the fact that Pakistan is developing or not developed or whatever.
Absolutely.
America has this problem, England has this problem, France has this problem. So this is not we're not attacking anyone here. It's not a criticism. This is a universal thing.
Yeah, exactly. So you see, if you have recently seen on Facebook, there were few tourists who visited different parts of Pakistan, and they made vlogs about it,
Yes.
and it certainly created a very positive image of Pakistan. So
Yes.
why not we use social media for narrative building? Right
Okay.
now we use it, but that, I mean, in every country they use social media to build narrative, but most of the narrative revolves around certain party or certain group.
Okay.
But what about the national narrative, I mean, all the parties have their own narratives on the social media, but if we collaborate and we make us, a national narrative based around the positive projection of your country. I mean, Humans of New York when came to Pakistan, and it suddenly took Pakistan to a next level.
Yeah,
in a
we have
positive
Humans of
context,
Pakistan who are doing very well.
So people got to know about a lot of new individuals doing amazing work.
Okay.
So in that particular context, and then in other countries as well, I mean, a lot of people use it. I mean, they use Twitter to, share their opinions, right? But then again, it's just an opinion. But who would make it a trend? Who would make it the conversation, narrative? That's a mass following.
Okay.
So we need to make sure. I mean, if the end goal is, is there, then people would know how to go about it.
Okay, so Sarah, because you're involved with marketing, so you use social media a lot. So how do you guys try to responsibly use social media so that you are creating that narrative of positive usage rather than something that is negative to the national social?
First of all, I believe that the verification of information that is coming through social media, that verification is very important. Nowadays,
But how do we get that verification?
What is happening, our opinion leaders, our journalists, our political leaders, they need to take an initiative. Now people sitting over here like Mr. Hisham, who are surrounded by many friends and followers. So when people like him, who is an IT expert, who is a social media expert, when they post something, people know that the information is reliable.
Yeah.
But we have seen people sharing information that was not reliable and resharing and resharing and resharing, and it reached to thousands of people.
It gets trending.
Yes.
Okay, so now tell me, so then Hisham, seeing, because you've been in this world for a long time, why is it that these negative elements or the things that have a, because as we've seen, like you mentioned earlier, that the mode of media has changed from television. Now we've gone into social media. Television still exists, they play hand in hand, but social media,
It's a top of the line thing, yeah.
People, like even I do, that's the first place I go to for my news.
Absolutely.
Like I don't turn on the television for my news. I do watch PTV World though, guys, so keep watching that.
You forgot about all this.
Yeah, so how do we then make sure that it's, accurate? Like what do we do? like we said, because we have illiteracy too. So
this is where the problem is. You have given an access of a tool to the people where there's a lot of poverty and then lack of education.
Right.
You have people using internet who are illiterate, and then for you to expect that they would use internet sensibly, it's like your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to overemphasize on this fact.
Yeah.
Now this is a major problem in the developing countries. When you say, let me get back to the Pakistan. When you say that these are the same problems we are facing in West, West has got a different set of problems. There you got literate people, with English as their first language. They know about their fundamental rights. They know the importance of need versus demand. They know what needs to be said on the social media, what kind of content needs to be shared with their friends, so on and so forth. I can go at length about all this.
No, that's very
Coming back to Pakistan, like I said, you've got a taxi driver here, you got a servant at home who's got Q mobile, and who's got any affordable mobile smartphone, so to speak, and they're hooked up with the social media where they're using social media to connect with their friends, their family, by sharing pictures and other information. But alongside this, there's a pretty bad thing about. Let's just talk about Facebook for a second. Pretty bad thing in the form of timeline.
Okay.
When you are on Facebook, you get to see what your friends have shared on their wall, which is shown in the form of a timeline. Now, if someone has shared a political stuff, which could be, crossing the line, you, without verifying the information, or as Ibrahim said, worrying about the validity of that information, you're just going to hit the one button called share, and this is it. Your friends, your followers, they get the access to see that information, and then the chain reaction starts. Now the problem is, again, like I said, who's going to bell the cat?
Exactly.
PTA can step into this, but Facebook won't let PTA, regulate the terms and conditions. China faced a similar problem.
They banned it outright.
Thank you very much. We can't control the content you're sharing. We're going to ban it.
Okay,
this is not the solution, mind you. This is not the solution. Solution is, if you ask me, with authority comes responsibility. We just got to educate our people using the social media, using the mainstream media, using the newspaper, the paper media, and we got to educate them that whatever they post on their social media could be pulled against them if that information is invalid.
Okay, so now this is the scary aspect of it, but we're going to go for a short break, and when you come back, we're going to talk about how do we protect ourselves more and how can we actually start verifying the information and stop having knee-jerk reactions. So with that, let's go for a short break, and when you come back, we'll continue our conversation.
की जंग में जहां पाक फजाइया के लड़ाका हवाबाज मुल्की फजाई सरहदों की हिफाजत कर रहे थे, तो वहीं C-130 तैयारों पर मुश्तमिल नंबर 35 विंग के हवाबाज और नेविगेटर्स भी किसी से कम साबित न हुए। बाकायदा जंग के आगाज से पहले ही जुलाई के अवाइल में ये जांबाज जंग में शामिल होने वाले सबसे पहले शाहीन थे। अपने मायानाज विंग के कमांडर सलाउद्दीन जाहिद भट्ट की ज़ेर क़यादत 2 अदद C-130 तैयारों ने कश्मीर के महाज पर पाक फौज को बरवक्त कुमक पहुंचाकर बहादुरी की नई तारीख रकम कर दी। इब्तिदा से ही ये मिशन तकरीबन नामुमकिन समझा जा रहा था, मगर नामसाइद हालात और इंतहाई ख़राब मौसम के बावजूद हिमालय के बर्फ पोश पहाड़ों के दरमियान 23 अगस्त की घुप अंधेरी रात में इन हवाबाजों ने सामान्य रस्त पैराड्रॉप करके नामुमकिन को मुमकिन में बदल दिया और साथ ही जुर्रत की एक नई मिसाल कायम कर दी। 17 दिन पर मुहित इस जंग में एरिक हॉल और जाहिद बट ने जब C-130 तैयारे को बमबार में तब्दील करने का एक अछूता आइडिया मुतारुफ कराया तो तमाम दुनिया फर्ते हैरत में पड़ गई। सर पर कफन लपेटे ये जांबाज अपने निहत्ते C-130 तैयारों के जरिए कभी BRB और अटारी के महाज पर दुश्मन की भारी तोपों को खामोश कराते नजर आए तो कभी वागा और अमृतसर पर पेशकदमी करती हुई दुश्मन की फौज पर कहर बनकर गिरे। 6 स्क्वाड्रन के कमांडर मसूद खान की क़यादत में आबदी, रिजवान, आसिफ, जावेद और अशफाक ने बहादुरी की नई दास्तान रकम की। इन जाबाजों ने हजारों टन वजनी बम दुश्मन की अफवाज पर गिराकर जंग का पांसा ही पलट दिया। हुकूमत पाकिस्तान ने इन जाबाजों की बहादुरी के एतराफ में उन्हें 7 सितारे जुर्रत और 2 तमग़े जुर्रत से नवाजा।
Gather on the country's horizon early in September 1965.
की जंग की कामयाबी में F-86 सेबर और F-104 स्टार फाइटर लड़ाकर तैयारों के शाना बशाना नंबर 31 विंग के B-57 बमबार तैयारों ने भी कलीदी किरदार अदा किया। 7 और 8 स्क्वाड्रन पर मुश्तमिल इस विंग के पायलट्स और नेविगेटर्स ने कमाल बहादुरी से दुश्मन की सफ़ों में घुसकर उसकी ईंट से ईंट बजा दी और लाजवाल कुर्बानियों की नई तारीख रकम की। वो चाहे पठानकोट हो या हलवाड़ा, अमृतसर हो या आदमपुर, जामनगर हो या दूर अफ्तादा आगरा, दुश्मन का कोई भी ठिकाना इन बमबार तैयारों के कहर से बच न सके। इन मौसर जंगी कार्रवाइयों में कई नामवर हवाबाज और नेविगेटर्स हीरो बनकर उभरे। कहीं नजीब खान, विलियम हार्नी और बिल लतीफ आगरा और आदमपुर को ने सुनाबूद करते दिखाई दिए तो कहीं रईस रफ़ी, यूसुफ अलवी, सादत अख्तर और पीटर क्रिस्टी हलवाड़ा और पठानकोट को रोन पहुंचा। कहीं इकबाल और लोदी ने अपनी कीमती जानों का नजराना पेश करके अमृतसर को तबाह किया तो कहीं फौरी, सिकंदर
Welcome back, everyone. And before the break, we're in discussion about national security and the role of social media within it. And we've been having some really interesting conversations. And, you know, actually, now we're discussing, you know, how do we resolve this issue? Because, you know, no one believes in censorship. No one believes in violating anyone's rights or freedoms of expression and speech. But at the end of the day, people can be careless with when they are given a lot of opportunity and responsibility, or power, actually, because the internet is power. And now, before the break, was it during the break? I can't remember now, but we were mentioning about how verifying information and how you share something on social media, it will become viral, you know, and people do it without making sure that the information is correct. You know, unfortunately, within this country and within a lot of other countries, we've seen people lose their lives as a result. You know, ordinary citizens going about their day-to-day. Now, Hisham, okay, so now we're talking, you mentioned earlier that, there are certain countries that have banned certain social media platforms because the regulations, they're not passing it over, which is absolutely fine. It preserves the integral kind of unity of that one platform, but in an age where technology is so important and it's used to connect the world, how do we go around this aspect? How do we control the content without controlling the content? Do we want to control the content? What's happening? It's a very complicated topic.
We definitely want to control the content, but let me go back to the point of banning the website.
Yeah.
Now,
we've tried that, it doesn't
countries,
work.
No, we didn't ban that. We actually, just temporarily put a hold to that. But those countries who have put a ban to the social media, they are advanced enough to come up with an alternative of their own, which means they have a full control over the website.
Okay.
So when you talk about China, if they banned WhatsApp, if they banned Facebook, if they banned YouTube, there's an alternative for all these three mediums, which is controlled by the central governing authority directly under the nose of Chinese government. And so, that's one way to look into it. If you want to ban, these websites, then you should be big enough to come up with a website of your own with the big data servers, and this is not easy. So that, goes out. Talking about Pakistan.
And to be honest, maybe that is a positive thing, because do we want something where everything's being monitored? That's another
partially, yes. I mean,
okay, we'll move on to
freedom of speech then gets compromised if you can't say what you're supposed to say.
Exactly.
So, like I said, partly, I mean, it makes sense to control it, but then at the end of the day, you would want to say what you want to say.
Exactly.
Now, the way to stop all this is, talking from the political front, talking about the national security, you see, whatever the main distributor for the content, still is the mainstream media. Okay. We got the different talk shows talking about politics, political figures in Pakistan, and then they are, assisted by the team or people on the social media who are running blogs. They take clips of those videos, of those discussions. They can manipulate it the way they want to. And that is, once it is floated on the social media, it gets trended by, by people sharing it and following the chain reaction. Okay. So the one way to put a stop on it, where government can step in, because Facebook is not going to give you the control of, who controls the content. No. And all within their rights. Why would they let someone, control their content? So one way where government can step in is ensuring that these blogs, these websites, they're responsible enough in floating the content on the social media, which is appropriate, and floating it in the way it actually happened, rather than manipulating it.
Okay, so now, so that's one aspect. So verifying and, having these, what are your thoughts on this, Ibrahim?
Okay, so I personally believe there are four major chunks and four major uses of social media. One is you use it for business purposes, the other is for individual purposes, third is for narrative building, and fourth is for, fourth you use for propagating entertainment, let's just say. Okay. So the problem is, and like you said, verifying information, believe me, all it takes is just good 5 to 8 minutes of research on internet to verify any news. Right? Okay. You'll get the information. So I beg to disagree with Hisham. What Hisham Sahab has said, that the major content holder is conventional media, from where people take the clips and the talk shows and everything. I beg to disagree, because you might have seen in certain incidents, and in most cases a lot of big incidents that happened recently in different countries, all the mainstream media would play a trigger which would say, send a WhatsApp us the videos and pictures if you have any. For example, floods in Karachi recently, or the other events, the oil tanker in the southern Punjab in that case. So that means you know, the 5,000-7,000 rupees that I hold in my hand has a massive power. You know, what if I click a picture, I can make you an Arshad Chaiwala a big hit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And like you said, a lot of people in different countries are losing lives as well out of it. So this should tell me the kind of power that I have.
Okay.
What if I make a video in a private gathering and by sitting at a roadside, and you know, you never know where it would end up.
Yeah.
And I have seen mainstream media actually doing a lot of programs around that. Now the problem is, since we don't, unfortunately, we are not very, you know, tech savvy in a way, we won't spend those 5-7 minutes to research the news.
Yeah.
And I would say, since I blindly follow Hisham or any leader or any political or religious leader, I would say whatever he's posting, I would consider it reliable.
Yeah, okay.
So I always say you need to see the content, and you need to see there are just two motives behind it usually. One is power, the other is money.
Okay.
You know,
so now, so tell me, Suresh, what are your thoughts on this? So what are we doing? Well, how do we break down the motives? Because the thing is, as we've mentioned, that it's not like, that's the thing, it's not that I'm kind of negating the level of, you know, lack of informational literacy in Pakistan, but I've seen it as well. You know, we've all seen it firsthand abroad, that people instigate hatred, they instigate, you know, national issues on the social media. So how do we teach people this responsibility?
I think this should start from the very basic level. Very basic level. When I say basic level, it means when we are teaching our students on a primary level, on a secondary level, on a matriculation level. So we need to teach our children the positive and negative uses of social media. So is the responsibility of teachers, of the leaders, of the schools, of the education board, that since social media is now widely being used all across the world by children, by teenagers, by the youth of the country, so we need to raise awareness. We need to put in training programs for the teenagers. We need to put in training programs for the masses. Probably through your channel, I can make an appeal to the government to arrange such kind of training and motivation sessions for the youth of the country, so that they must know what are the positive and what are the negative uses of social media. Nowadays, we can see a trend on social media that someone just put on a video with a very crispy title, just click to read more, or click and you will see that what's going on in the following video, and people just do it blindly. What happens? We have that incident that took place with a student in Madan University, that took place all because of social media. Somebody just created a fake account in his name, just posted some hatred comments, and he just lost his life. So I think it's very important to teach our students, our children, our youth, and even the masses of all age groups how to use social media and what are the positive and negative means of social media.
Okay, and you've highlighted some really important points that, people create fake accounts, then that is a national security threat as well, isn't it? When an individual or a citizen or a minority or whoever is under threat, right? That falls under national security. Yes.
Yeah, I would like to add over here that a study was conducted by Brookings Institute, and you will be surprised to know that in just 4 months, September till December 2014, 46,000 Twitter accounts were in operation by ISIS.
Okay.
So they just closed those accounts down. So it means that yes, social media is widely used by the terrorist organizations as well.
Yeah.
So definitely there has to be something, some filtration.
These terrorists aren't coming out of nowhere. The people in society, they know about social media. They're going to absolutely use it. But okay, so now, Isham, tell me about this. So the fact that social media, everyone knows now, I mean, majority of people know that there is misinformation out there. People know that people have different motives for putting a certain information out there. As Suresh has mentioned, that someone's lost their, people lose their lives as a result. Despite knowing these things, despite having, we're still human beings at the end of the day. Why are we so emotionally driven when we do see something that is provocative? Like, surely, we've had the social media for a while. We've had this platform for a while. Why are we not used to it? Why is our personality not evolving? Why are we not becoming more patient like Ibrahim Sarisha mentioned, we don't verify any information before, knee-jerk reaction.
Let me give you an
And
alternative.
the blue whale game, you have all
Blue
these
whale
things.
game, yeah. I mean, this is something very alarming. But let me give you an alternative example and then get back to the social media.
We have 1 minute. We need to do this in.
We have the political system in Pakistan since 1947. That hasn't evolved this much in 70 years. You talk about a population where the majority of it, we are facing the illiteracy.
Okay.
And for us to expect everyone to be responsible and use their handles, whatever it is, Twitter and Facebook accounts, responsibility, perhaps we are asking too much. The only solution here is, I'll absolutely second Sarish on this. We got to educate people. We got to put up, come up with the training programs, and free training programs initiated by the government, perhaps the provincial governments and all provinces, so that people can, get to know the law side of it. That if I, spread information which is inappropriate, which is wrong, that could be pulled against me in a court of law.
And it happened recently. Someone was convicted for information.
Cyber law came into play here, and but then someone had to report that particular incident to the authorities before they could take action. So the only solution here is, see, we got a illiteracy, big percentage here to deal with. And the training and education is the only solution here.
Okay, and finally, Ibrahim.
I agree with the solutions, training and education, but I think since we have so many less outlets of entertainment present in the country, we tend to vent on social media.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that is where, the spreading the unverified news and everything comes along, because I'm just enjoying what I'm sharing and I'm getting likes. And there is a whole biological reason to that. I mean, the hit of dopamine that we get. One of my favorite authors, Simon, says a lot about, talk about it. Maybe we can talk about it some other show. But there's a biological reason attached to it.
Exactly.
And my number of likes and comments would now actually, unfortunately, determine that what kind of a content I would put.
Okay.
And if this kind of a content gets me more likes, then I would share it anyways.
Okay, so this is that's the beauty and the danger of social media. But just to let all the parents out there know, the Blue Whale game is a very dangerous game that had started not trending, but people had started doing it, and it's 50 stages, and the end is actually suicide. And you can say whatever we like, that my children, or they're sensible, they're strong, but anyone can be led astray, and people can be manipulated and brainwashed into doing things that is not right, especially if there's no proper support and guidance at home. So do make sure that if you have underage kids, that you are monitoring their internet usage. That is one way to protect their security and the national security, because that way you'll make sure there's nothing wrong that's going out. And as adults, it's our responsibility to use it properly, and also make sure that we are part of the voice that is creating the systems that could be potentially monitoring us. And at the end of the day, no one wants to be monitored, so we need to make sure that we are responsible. So with that, if you would like any information on our guests or on our topic today, do log on to our Facebook fan page, which is with the name of World This Morning. Our Twitter page, World This Morning without a G. Our Daily Motion and YouTube page is World This Morning. And the repeat is at 11:05, 5 past 11 p.m. in the evening. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning.